Trojan family, what is going on? Welcome to the USC LAFB show. I'm your host, Ryan Dyru. Typically would be live right at this time, but did have to pre-record this, so apologies for that anyone was looking to join, but we'll continue doing our lives down the road. But wanted to get on here, talk a little bit more recruiting. One thing we haven't covered yet is with this coaching carousel, with the firings of Brian Kelly, of Billy Napier, of James Franklin, so on and so forth. There's a lot of potential recruiting flip candidates that USC can potentially pursue. Now, obviously, we know that their 2026 class is loaded and sitting at 35 commitments already. So I don't think it's going to be any heavy pursuit in 26, but you never know, especially with talented kids out there that might now be looking for a new place that USC maybe previously pursued. The question is, would that push any current commits out? And, you know, I've been saying, I think I said just last video when they flipped Josiah Jefferson from Utah, the number one JUCO tight end prospect. I said, you know, they're going to go past this 35 number most likely. Now, how past is the other question. Is it 36? Is it 37? Are they going to try to push to 40? Again, because that's going to take scholarships away for what they can do in the future. And then you're looking at a 10 or 11 kid 27 class, which is maybe what they want to do and get these kids in the door and start developing them quicker. So we'll see. So this is, you know, I think this is a good conversation. I'm not saying this is all going to happen. I haven't had conversations with people at SC in the recruiting world of if this pursuit has intensified, we'll say. So this is more just kind of my looking at who's out there available and saying, hey, you know, let's see if these conversations are reignited from where they previously have been. So it should be fun. We'll get into it. And as always, family, thank you so much for making this a part of your day. If you haven't already, please hit that like and subscribe button. That helps us out a ton. Plus, then you get notified anytime we go live or any video that does come out. Check out LAFBnetwork.com for all of our LA sports coverage. I mean, hopefully you guys watched that Dodgers game last night. My wife actually stayed up and watched it with me. I was shocked. That 18-inning walk-off Freddie Freeman. So I know not all USC fans are Dodger fans, but hey, we're in LA. LAFB covers all LA sports. We got you covered there on the Dodgers as well. So become a member. You can become a member right here on the USC LAFB channel, or you can jump over to LAFBnetwork.com, join our community, become a member there, full access to our message board, which is free, by the way. We're trying to build that up. Go sign up, completely free. Intel there, recruiting intel, information, plus just a community for us to hang out, start some chat threads, have some fun outside of the comment here on YouTube, which is amazing. I love everyone that comments. But hey, bring it over to LFBnetwork.com and we can continue the conversation there if it doesn't pertain to a specific video. So check that out for sure. Okay, so, you know, when looking at these vacancies, I think not a ton of decommitments have happened yet for some of them, because I think, you know, people want to see the dust settle. What's going to happen? You know, what with NIL now, it's so different too, right? Like a lot of these high-profile players have, you know, these aren't binding contracts in the NIL world, but there has been language, and I've talked about this before, of, you know, some prepayments happening, and not anything illegal, but, you know, players getting payments before they officially get to signing day to kind of keep them locked in. And so that kind of muddies the water a little bit. And like, oh, well, if I decommit now, I would assume any smart agent or manager of these kids has some clause in there that's like, you know, if the coach is fired, like, we don't have to pay back what you already paid us because, you know, we got to explore options then. So that's a legal line that I don't even want to go down. But I think that is part of the reason why maybe we haven't just seen a huge swath in decommitments. Now there's definitely been some. Penn State's had a couple. UCLA, which is who I'll talk about last, had a lot right out. Like they had like 10 in the first like 48 hours. But LSU, you know, is still very fresh. Obviously, it's only been like, 2 days since that happened. So, you know, that's still very fresh, which is why we haven't seen much. Florida, not super old yet, but again, waiting to see kind of when the dust settles. So yeah, we'll take a look at that. But let's look first at LSU. And I think there's 3 interesting flip candidates here. And again, this is going to look at the USC roster construction if they're able to fit more, and if it leads to having to kind of push others out and say, hey, sorry, like, we don't got room for you. We know this happens, right? Like sometimes a player decommitting is actually the school saying, hey, we're actually going in a different direction. But the announcement is like a player decommitting, but it could be forced by the school in a way. So I love this class. So I just want to start with that. Like, I really don't want to see anyone in this class, even, I know out there, if you're like, hey, if you can get a 4-star and remove a 3-star, but I just think the way that these pieces fit just makes so much sense. Even when you look at some of these 3-star kids who are highly talented, having great senior seasons in their high school. When you look at like the John Fafitas of the world, I think he's playing great, and he's going to be a really good offensive lineman. Chase Denise is playing great and probably underranked as a 3-star. What he's doing down in San Diego, just a big body. So I don't think they have any risk of getting pushed out. I just brought those two names up because they first came to mind, but just wanted to say, like, I hope that doesn't happen for anyone, even if USC does pursue some of these other kids. So the one name that pops off immediately is Havon Finney, right? 4-star cornerback, local kid, Sierra Canyon. Really felt like USC was maybe not in the driver's seat, but certainly right there at the top of his list before he ultimately did commit to LSU. Goes to Sierra Canyon, who's having an elite season. He's teammates with all those USC commits from Sierra Canyon, Brandon Lockhart, his counterpart. I mean, no wonder Sierra Canyon's so good when you really think about that's their defensive backfield with Havon Finney and Brandon Lockhart. Like, holy cow. But, teammates now. Could he want to come over with what's happened at LSU and, hey, remain teammates with him? Tron Baker, obviously, over there, who plays both ways. But obviously for a receiver standpoint and the other commits that USC has from Sierra Canyon. So there's that. The biggest question is, USC currently has 6 cornerbacks on the roster, just flipped 2 in the last 10 days. When you look at Jaden Crowder and Jaquan, the JUCO prospect, Jaquan Morris. So adding a 7th now, and I'll get to this later on as well, technically 6 cornerbacks, 1 safety. I've said all along that USC is recruiting DBs, not corners or safeties. It's going to be interchangeable. We'll see where guys fit. So, in reality, 7 DBs. But Havon Finney would be a great fit. I mean, if you can make the numbers work, that's a guy that, again, local kid, super talented, 12th ranked corner in the class, just behind Brandon Lockhart, who's 11th ranked in Rivals industry rankings. And I think he'd just be a great fit, and you keep him home. So, that one's it's a tougher pipe dream just because of the numbers USC already has with the 7 defensive backs. But if they can make it work, that's one you want to see happen. Because it just makes too much sense. USC was in on him. I mean, he never got like a prediction, but USC was right there in that, maybe not the driver's seat, but they were in the passenger seat for sure. And so now they could, re-engage those conversations and see if they can get him to, stay home. So that's an interesting one. Trenton Henderson, edge, 4 or 5-star, depending which outlet you look at. Another kid that USC was really in on. When we go back to June, and I'm going to bring up another one of these kids, but when we go back to June, the 3 kind of edge prospects that USC had basically circled at that time that was remaining out of, obviously they already had some commitments before them, was Luke Wafel, KJ Ford, and Trenton Henderson. Those were kind of the 3 that were like, okay, we're going to get one of these 3 kids. Obviously, we know what happened. I've documented it a bunch. They go all in on Luke Wafel, which in my opinion is the best of the 3. I think they're all 3 talented, but I think Wafel was the one to go get. I mean, that kid is going to be, all these kids are going to be special. But Luke Wafel, I'm so excited to get him on campus. And if you're interested or don't know, I did a video just last week about his performance. I mean, he's having a phenomenal senior season over in New Jersey. And he's completely committed to USC. That hasn't waffled at all. So Luke Wafel there. But Trent Henderson was a kid that had a visit. I'm trying to think back now. Had a visit scheduled. And then once Wafel committed or once USC kind of said, we're going all in on Wafel, he ended up canceling his official visit. He was one of those blue chip prospects that was going to have one of those visits in June, and he ended up canceling it. And I think, did he on the same date ended up doing a visit to Texas? I can't remember, but it was somewhere in that lines where he had it scheduled, canceled because of USC's either full push for Wafel or it had already happened where Wafel committed. So, opportunity to re-engage. USC has three edge players currently committed when you look at their, current class. And obviously extremely talented edge players when you think of the likes of Wafel, Samota Katawanga, and not Sean Scott, he's going to be a linebacker. And then Andrew Williams, who's a 3-star, but still very talented local kid. So, when you think about the numbers, they could fit one more edge in there. I think they certainly could. And Trenton Henderson would certainly be a really solid one to add to that list. So he'll be one that we'll watch. We'll see if a visit can get scheduled during this season. And I'll definitely certainly keep tabs with you on that. The last one from LSU that I see as an interesting one is actually a 27 prospect. So obviously plenty of room there, no commits yet. And that's quarterback Peyton Houston. He was the heavy favorite for USC for the last 7 months. That kind of cooled once the season started, not really because anything USC did. Maybe they cooled their pursuit a little bit, but then it kind of became an Oklahoma versus LSU race. And he ultimately decided to stay home. He's from the state of Louisiana, commit to LSU. Because he's got so long, 27 is a long way away. So if I was his family, I'd be like, hey, let's wait and see who the next hire is. But you lose Brian Kelly and the offensive coordinator was just hired. So, that clearly went into his decision to commit to LSU, besides the fact that it's LSU and staying home. Certainly a large chunk of his commitment was head coach and offensive coordinator. Like when you're a defensive player and you commit to a school that has an offensive-minded head coach and the OC is going to help develop you, when you're a defensive player and you commit to a school and the head coach is offensive-minded and the OC and those two guys are gone, you still kind of wait and see. Because, yes, you're committing to the head coach, but you were kind of looking more at the defensive. Now, we know the defensive staff is probably going to be gone too once the new coach gets hired. But you get what I'm trying to say here. Peyton Houston's wrap in commitment was very much tied to Kelly and the OC. So he's someone that I think could certainly see USC engaging in talks again, because they basically decided after the whole Ryder Lyons things, as I've said, that Peyton Houston was their guy in 27. They were going to go all in on him as their quarterback. We know how Lincoln Riley basically just recruits one quarterback at a time, and Houston was that guy. Now, I've said a couple times, in my opinion, I'm not saying USC is going to do this, but in my opinion, I think USC should just punt on taking a quarterback in 27. When you just look at the timeline of, is Jaden Mayava going to come back another year? Then you have Husan Longstreet that's going to play 2, could play 3 years. Then you got Jonas Williams. That 27 kid may not even play till 2030 or 2031. You're going to have to be paying $1 million a year NIL just to have a kid sit for 3 years. Now, you can't plan that far in advance and just say, these guys are going to be this, that, and the other. So I do believe they'll pick up the phone, say, hey, are you still committed to LSU? Is your recruitment still open? And we know the relationship's good. We know his family likes Lincoln Riley and USC. His family and dad spoke very highly of the program in Los Angeles. We know his relationship with Boobie Feaster. So I'm sure Boobie's like, all right, you coming now with me? You coming to LA now? So all the stars align there. The question for me is just if USC should actually take a quarterback in the 27 class because of what I just said. But Peyton Houston's certainly an interesting one to think about. And so when you look at Havon Finney, Trent Henderson, and Peyton Houston, those are the 3 that I've kind of circled from LSU that are interesting. Penn State, I don't see anyone really. I don't see anyone that USC had been previously heavily linked to. And I don't see anyone that they would maybe pursue now just based on how the roster's already constructed. So we'll just move quickly past Penn State. I just, not saying they won't. I just don't really see it that much. Florida, I see one player. I brought him up earlier. And we're sticking with edge, and that's KJ Ford. Again, I won't rehash it too much, but he was one of the guys they were pursuing during the Luke Wafel recruitment. Once Wafel committed, KJ Ford, another guy that had a official visit scheduled, ended up canceling. because USC is like, yeah, we're all in on Wafel or he maybe had already committed. So Ford ends up canceling that official visit and ends up ultimately committing to Florida, as we know. Now he's from Texas, plays at Duncanville, and the interesting tidbit is he now has a visit scheduled, and this may have happened even before Napier was fired, because I talked about it before. I just can't remember the timeline exactly. But he now has a visit scheduled with USC when USC hosts UCLA in the last game of the season. So he's planning to come to campus. And USC clearly showing they're still interested, regardless of where their numbers sit. And again, only 3 edge. I know you look at some recruiting sites, they say 4, but Sean Scott was recruited as a linebacker. So only 3 edge prospects. So adding a KJ Ford as a 4th, I mean, you talk about the likes of Luke Wafel, Samote Katawanga, and KJ Ford. I mean, that's an elite group of edge rushers. And super talented. So, and the fact that he has a visit scheduled tells me that there's interest on both sides. And this could be one of those last dominoes to fall for the 26 class. Like, I feel of everyone I've talked about so far, KJ Ford is one that I'm like, this has a very high likelihood of happening. And that's, I mean, just elite. That's an elite edge class for USC. And they all have a little different skill sets too, which is obviously what you want when you're recruiting, is finding, different pieces that fit. You don't need 5 of the same player. If you have 4 or 5 in the same position, you want them to do things differently and do them well. So KJ Ford brings a different element than what a Luke Wafel does. Katawanga brings a different element and size than what KJ Ford does. Andrew Williams, different element, different size, different skill sets. So I think it's a really intentional recruiting tactic that we're seeing and a definite possibility of flipping KJ Ford. Before we talk about the last team, I do want to talk to you guys quickly about our friends over at Sleeper. You've heard me say it on every show. #1 sports app right now. Go to download it in the Google Play or the App Store. And when you go to make your first deposit, make sure you use our promo code USCLAFB. That's USCLAFB. They're going to give you a match bonus up to $100. So if you deposit $100, you're going to get a free $100 to play with. You got $200 now. If you only want to put in 10, put in 10. They'll give you 10. You're playing with 20. What do you need the deposit for? For daily fantasy, of course. I know it's the best app out there for season-long fantasy. That's what I use it for my dynasty leagues and all that. But the daily fantasy is essentially a pick 'em. 2 to 8 players across any sport. You can do it on the Dodgers game if you want, or wait for SC when they go to Nebraska. And just pick 2 to 8 players and choose more or less. Jaden Maiava, more or less however many passing yards. Mekhi Lemon, more or less how many receiving yards. It's that simple, and you can win real money. So go download Sleeper today. Use that promo code USCLAFB. And right now, for any new users, they're giving you a free $20 entry. No deposit required. So if you don't want to deposit any yet, just go download the app, sign up, and you're going to get a free 20 to play with. But you can stack both if you want. You can get the free 20, use that promo code USCLAFB for whatever deposit you want them to match, and they'll do that as well. So let's say you put in $20, you get a $20 match, and you get the free 20. You're playing with $60 right off the bat. So download Sleeper app today. Use promo code USCLAFB. Tell them the guys at the LAFB network sent you. All right, so final school I want to talk about, which is, I don't want to say the easiest, but the easiest to pull from, which is right in your backyard, UCLA. UCLA, once they moved on for Deshaun Foster, they lost like 10 commits within like 48 hours. Now they're holding firm kind of at 13, but that's one I think the USC could easily go and pluck from because, you're in the same yard. So if these kids are staying at UCLA primarily to stay local, it's a very easy selling point from USC. Like, all right, well, we know our future. Like, we've talked to you before. We've recruited you before. You've been to our games before. Like, just come to this side. And the position that I haven't talked about yet that I think is still one that SC should add, most likely, is the linebacker position. I think a lot of fans have said that as well. Again, they have a lot of you, if you look, you'll see 2. They have 3 because Sean Scott is listed by most services as edge, which he plays edge at modern day. However, he's recruited as a linebacker by Rob Ryan. So you got, when you think about the linebacker position current as it stands, you got Talanoa Ely, the elite, should be a 5-star. And then Taylor Johnson, who's a very underrated 3-star from Cajon right here. So, and then Sean Scott. So you do have some talent there. You do have some depth there. It's not like, just one linebacker or even just two. You got 3. But I think that's the other position that they could certainly pursue more. And, when looking at these rosters, the reason why I haven't brought it up, because a lot of these teams just don't have many linebackers either. It's, it's a position with less players, and specifically talented players. It's kind of like the tight end position. Like, there's only so many elite tight ends. It's not like, corner. There is so many elite corners. Receiver. There is a ton of elite receivers. Offensive linemen. When you look at tackle, guard, whatever. Defensive linemen, edge players. When you get to linebacker and tight end and quarterback, the talent pool is just a lot smaller. And so there's not as many elite options out there, which is why you see, only 2 to 3 in per recruiting class. But if USC wants to add that 4th, UCLA is a good place to start, because there's 2, well, not one's local, but there's a relationship there. When you look at Malachi Solial Tui, goes to Kahuku in Hawaii, so his teammates already with Talanoa Ely. 3-star linebacker. Kahuku is a great program down in Hawaii, obviously, and we know what Ely brings. And so if they can get a Solial Tui, for a teammate with him is someone to certainly pair with and add depth to that room. So I think that's an interesting one. Matthew Muasau, his brother played at UCLA, so obviously a relationship there. 3-star, goes to St. John Bosco, local kid. And when Deshaun Foster was fired, I don't know if I think he decommitted, but then now he recommitted. So he decommitted, recommitted, but he is committed to UCLA now. But obviously waffling, not knowing. Obviously UCLA cleaned house with everyone, and there's a lot of unknown of what that's going to happen with that program. So certainly a player that has that family lineage, that's local, that has a teammate as well, Joshua Holland, that's going to be going to USC. And so certainly a player that USC could go pursue and add that 4th linebacker. And the last one is safety, CJ Lavender, another 3-star, but at Mater Dei. Great player for Mater Dei. We know USC's got, Mater Dei prospects in this 26 class. We know they're going after a bevy of 27 kids when you look at Danny Lang and others. So Lavender, as a true safety, again, if the numbers work, 7 DBs already for USC, only one kind of true safety, if you will, in Madden Riordan. So you can get that true safety in Lavender. But again, they're going to have corners that are actually going to be playing safety that they've recruited as. So, but I think those 3 are interesting when you look at the 13 commits left for UCLA and who they could potentially pursue. So, a lot of names thrown at you. Let me know what you guys think. Are there any of these players or prospects you want to see USC pursue? Are you done? Are you happy? 35 commits? Just tie a bow on it, get all 35 to signing day and call it a day. Obviously Peyton Houston, the 127 prospect I talk about. So that would be interesting to see those conversations brought back up. So let me know what you guys think. Comment below. Head over to our message board over on LAFBnetwork.com. The link's in the description below. Leave your comments there, your thoughts on any flip candidates. Obviously, there's some players I didn't mention that have already decommitted. So they're out there on the market. Maybe I'll do another episode of kind of the best still available for this 26 class. And yeah, we'll just see this thing all the way through to signing day. I think it's going to be a fascinating end of this recruiting cycle. And as long as USC takes care of business and doesn't implode on the football field, I expect this class to remain fully intact. Here we are. It's almost November 1st. Not a single decommitment. So as long as SC, that doesn't mean they'd have to win out. Just don't let the thing implode. Obviously winning out, that's a whole different conversation on this current season. But as long as they finish, in that 8-win, I've been saying all offseason, As long as USC wins 8 games, this class was fine. They'll remain intact. They'll be fine. If they drop under that 8 win, then we start having some uncomfortable conversations. So as long as they take care of business, I fully expect this class to fully make it to that December 3rd signing day, which is now just over a month away. Crazy. And we're all offseason talking like, whew, this class is good, but we got a long way to go. Let's see if we can see it through. We know what history has done to USC recruiting the last 2 cycles. Here we go. We're a month away now. And here we are, 35, number 1 recruiting class in the nation, holding strong, still excitement, more coming most likely. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts on any of these. Again, of all of them, KJ Ford is the one I'm circling as the most likely. Havon Finney is extremely interesting just because of local, plays with 3 current commits at his high school in Sierra Canyon. USC was heavily involved in his recruiting during the process. For him, it's more just about do the numbers work with how many DBs USC already has. And then, Muasso, I think, is an interesting name when you look at adding a potential local linebacker. But yeah, know what you guys think. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. This is the USC LAFB show. Hit that like and subscribe button. I'll be at practice tonight at USC on campus. We'll be talking to Lincoln Riley and some offensive players. So I'll have a video shortly after that, just with my takeaways from talking to Riley for 5 or so minutes. And we'll have his interview up here as well, right on the USC LAFB channel. Everyone enjoy the Dodger game this evening. We'll see Shohei and his heroics as he's on the mound less than 24 hours after going 18 innings. So it should be a fun night in LA. Thank you, family. And as always, fight on.